around with Danish people, because actually there's all these people online coming forward basically being like, hey, I survived. There's all these people coming forward basically being like, yo, I survived Danish men. Anyway, you guys, we are watching this in real time. We're going to have real life reactions. We are on part 10. I know it says part 9, but she did part 1. Things have gotten deep. I hope everybody's having a happy holiday. Put this on if you are cooking, because it's going to be, I'm going to be running my mouth. So what happened? She sent him her ID before even having his phone number to fly her out to Monaco. When she got to Monaco, he told her he wanted 2 gold medals. 1 gold he gave to his mom, 1 bronze. He donated to charity. Spoiler alert, he was never in the Olympics, right? He may or may not roofied her in St. Tropez because she blacked out and ended up in the hospital. And that's the first time he was like, I love you. And I was like, you better tell her that so she don't ask for a drug test and get you arrested, because Interpol does not play about that stuff. He started saying his dad wouldn't loan him money. He needed 50,000. She ended up giving him 5. What? This is all with it. She didn't even know him for 14 business days at this point. Okay. She said, love is a drug. I said, okay, but at what point okay, what else happened? She said she was falling in love. He told her that they were supposed to spend the holidays together. She was going to visit him in Denmark or whatever. He told her he had just gotten, we're about to get in episode 10. I'm just giving everybody a recap. He told her that he had just gotten back surgery. So it wasn't a good time for her to come. But then he said 3 days later, he could go meet her in Paris with back surgery. Meet her in Paris. And then after he met her in Paris, he would then after he met her in Paris, she flew him out. So she's paying for everything at this point. And after she flew him out to Paris because she just wanted to spend Christmas with him, he then asked her to marry him. When they went looking for rings, she insisted he get a lab-grown diamond instead of a real diamond. And I know what you guys are saying, but it does make a difference. And also, here's the thing. At this point, they hadn't even been together for 4 months, and she was spending his money like it was their money. Like, why would you? My point. When a man is getting you the engagement ring, right? That is literally a token of how much he cares about you. Now, if your man is working at McDonald's and he gets you a gold band, that's a lot, because he might only make, how much is McDonald's making a week? After taxes, he might be making $1,000 a week. So for him to get like a gold band with a small diamond that's maybe like 5,000, that's a lot. That's a sacrifice. But for a man, he also told her he was part of the royal family, even though, now she said that she never had a clue and she didn't want to, she never Googled him. But when she went to the hotel, the first night, she Googled how much a night the hotel was in St. Tropez and was like, oh my God, nobody's ever given this to me. Nobody's ever treated me like this. And I was just like, girl, but how are you Googling hotel prices? But you're not Googling all the stuff he tells you. I don't know. Anyway, with no further ado, let's let Onyeka, I think her name is Onyeka, let's let her do the thing. So this is where we are in part 9. She dropped the spoiler alert and she said this fool is not her fiance or her ex. It is her husband, because yes, spoiler alert, she sponsored him for a green card and was bringing him over, which, yeah, if there's love, yeah, bring them over, live in your country. But again, this guy, oh God. Anyway, let's get in. Keep in mind, before we get into her thing, she is on Twitter and everywhere else cursing out every single Black woman because she said what happened to Unity. What happened to Black? We're like, it is Unity, but as Black people, like, don't we love calling people stupid even as we help them? You know, it's kind of like, I think that's something very unique to Black culture. We will laugh and tell you what you did wrong, but we will still get in that car at 3:30 a.m. and come pick you up. So yeah, this whole anti-Black thing she's going on, because the whole internet is laughing at her, not just Like, people of all races are doing think pieces on her. It's odd that she would just focus on Black women. But you know what? Whatever. It takes all types. Anyway, let's get into the Danish deception part. Whatever.
So he calls me and he tells me that he's had the worst news that he possibly.
Wait, did we do part 8? Hold on really quick. Let me make sure I'm on the right part. 1 second. This is part 9. So that's part 10. Maybe we're a little bit ahead. Hold on. Is this the one? Hold on. Let's see. Let's try this one first. What happened? Like, what? Why aren't you moving? Hold on. Part 8. Let's just make sure we haven't gone through this one. Okay.
The Danish deception, part 8. I was not going to leave you guys hanging, but I do have a wedding tonight, so this will be the final part of the evening.
Hold on 1 second.
Trusting him at this
1 second.
couple weeks go by. I still haven't received the money. I'm not.
Okay, let's just go.
The Danish deception, part 8. I was not going to leave you guys hanging, but I do have a wedding tonight, so this will be the final part of the evening. And just want to let you guys know, I need you to bear with me. I do have a job. I do have a life. I'm trying to do this at my own pace, but I also wanted to say thank you all for being here. This is not easy to share with the world, but your support truly means so much to me.
I'm glad I could help.
All right.
With these views, yeah, I'm glad I can help pay some of the bills he left you with. $300,000, as a matter of fact.
We're not just engaged, we were married, and we are now divorced. So once we made the decision to get married, I remember we had a phone call over the course of like 6 hours. And one day we talked on the phone about all the things that we wanted to get out of life. We talked about kids, we talked about religion, we talked about everything. And at the end of that day, he told me, do you still want to get married? And I said, absolutely. I'm in love with you. I want to build a life with you. I want to have a family with you. So the decision was very, very simple. And so he already told me about a month prior that he had reached out to his realtor about putting out feelers about selling his home. Because at this point, now that we're getting married, he's like, I'm going to just try to spend as much time in Dallas as possible. And I was absolutely okay with that. And so in the beginning of January, he had told me that his realtor got an offer off market for his place. And
I just came from the gym.
I was like, that's great. And he was like, I'm going to probably take a loss. So, I mean, I'm just trying to get as much as my down payment back. And I was like, how much are you going to end up getting back? He said, probably around $500,000. I was like, well, that's, a good solid base for us to have. And I was more than okay with that. Keep in mind, he still does owe me money at this point. So they end up going under contract. The plan is for the house to sell by the end of January. And everything seemed like it was going smooth. And then one day he calls me and he tells me that he's had the worst day ever. And I'm like, oh, now what? He's frantic. He's like, there's a fire in the control room, the electrical control room at the apartment complex that he bought. And he's just like, I don't know what to do. He's like, there's no power. Like, no one has power. He's like, I just paid this guy $2,000.
I don't understand though. If there was really a fire in the electric control room, why wouldn't he call the police? Why wouldn't he call? And also, she wouldn't.
Bring generators to power up the whole entire apartment. I have an electrician coming, and he's like freaking out. And he basically used all of his money he had to put towards like the generators and paying the electrician for as much work as they could do. And I was like, okay, like what now? And he was like, I need help. At this point, he has now asked me for help. He said, can you send me $5,000?
So he asked you to marry you and then turned around and asked for money. And the thing is, right, these things on their own don't amount to much. Like at the end of the day, if somebody is literally like your ride or die, of course, if they need money, you're going to give it to them. But she hasn't even known this man for 4 months. And like so many things have happened.
And I said, yeah, of course, I can help you.
And also, if he doesn't have money to be traveling, why are they going all over the world? Paris, Brazil, all this stuff.
Again, love is a powerful drug. I hate myself. I hate this. I hate that I was so willing to help him. and it is what it is. But I send him the $5,000. He tells me that his insurance is going to cover it. He's going to be able to pay me back. And also, like, I'm mindful of the fact that his house is supposed to close at the end of the month. And so a week go by and we start talking about plans for the wedding. And so at first we wanted to go to Vegas, and then we looked into it, and Denmark does not recognize wedding marriages that are done in Vegas, because you can get the marriage certificate and get married in the same day. Same thing with Colorado. Shout out to Denmark. I love that rule. But we're like, it's fine. We should just save money. Let's just do it in Dallas. And then we can go do a little weekend trip to Broken Bow, Oklahoma, which is like this cute lake town. And that can be our honeymoon. And he was like, okay, that works fine. We can do that. At this point, he has his flight booked to come back to Dallas in the end of January. Now we're in 2023. And he tells me that one of his really close friends that owns a plumbing business, and my ex was actually godfather of this man's son. This is confirmed. And he came to him and said that his partner in his business is like doing some like shady stuff. He's like scared that he's going to get like implicated. He wants my ex to buy out his partner. And he's asking him for a loan of $250,000. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. And this time he asked me, and, you know, we're about to get married. So now I feel like I can insert my opinion about the situation. So I asked him, I'm like, is this just a handout, or is this going to be a good investment? And he was like, well, I think it's going to be a really good investment. Like, he has a bunch of ideas of how to expand the business. And to me, I was like, well, if you can help a friend and have a good investment, I think that that makes a lot of sense. And as you guys can already tell, I'm a very giving person. I've been very giving my entire life. I get it from my parents. They're very generous and selfless. And so when it comes to helping friends and family in need, I've always done it. If I can do it, I'll always do it. And so to me, I'm like, we have this money coming in. Let's invest it. And, you know, I own this house here, and we don't have any big purchases coming up. So it's okay. Like, I wasn't really stressed and pressed about it. Okay. And so basically I was like, okay, the house is going to close at the end of the month, and then he'll be able to like pay me back the money that he owes me, and he'll be able to help his friend, and everything will be good to go. So he ends up coming back to Dallas. We get our marriage certificate. We set our wedding date for February 10th. And I remember the night before our wedding, he got really, really bad food poisoning, which I feel like should have been another sign that this was 100% the wrong decision to make. But instead I was like, hey, in sickness and in health, like, whatever happens, we're going to make it through it. And at this point, he doesn't really
say something, because I do feel sorry for this girl, and she was taken advantage of. Whether she had a clue or not, that remains to be seen. But you know what? I feel like she's a product of pick-me culture. Just hear me out, right? Lately, or maybe I just started noticing, there's so many people that give the respect and deference, is that the word? Deference to people over titles, but not their actions. Like the way someone will be like, yo, that's my girlfriend, she can have the world. But then you're like, but you only known her for 2 weeks. Do you even know if you can trust her? Or her, this is my fiance, this is my husband. So it's like you're playing a role like Anne Scene, but you haven't vetted him to see if he's worthy of being your husband, to see if you can trust him. Do you know what I'm saying? And even if he didn't scam her, involving that much money with someone that you've only known for 3-4 months at this point, and you've only seen them a handful of times, it's like you're putting all this stress on the relationship. But I think I think what it is and a lot of women are raised that way, and men are like this too. You put all this respect on the title, right? It's like saying like, oh no, that's the priest. But if the priest is diddling with all the kids, if the priest is stealing from the congregation, if the priest is refusing to give somebody baby formula, then what respect should we actually give the priest? You see what I'm saying? Like, where I'm from, we speak bad of the dead. If you lived a shitty life, we are going to drag your memory into the ground. You don't become a saint or an angel just because you're quote unquote dead. We all gonna die. We are all born, and guess what? We are all gonna die. That doesn't make you special. The way you get respect, the way you get a eulogy, the way you get people crying, the way you get people literally from the bottom of their hearts wishing you and keeping your memory alive is by being a good person and doing right by the people, your children, your husband, your wife, right by the people around you. And I really feel like she's probably one of those people, and that you give people respect for a title, not for their actions. And that's where she messed up. But again, it's not just her. It's a lot of people that are doing this.
Money. I remember he looked at me. He goes, I'm sick. I'm broke. You want to marry me still? I said, I don't care if you're sick and broke. I love you for you. And we're getting married. And I'm so excited and ready for it. So the morning of our wedding, obviously he couldn't afford a ring at that point. And so I remember he got on one knee. I like woke up that morning and he's down on one knee next to the bed.
That's another thing. My mom and dad always told me, especially what men are different than women. Women will build with you, right? Men in society, there's a lot of men that if they are not close to where they want to be, you're like arguing with their ego. You know, because they're not where they want to be. And until they're where they want to be, doesn't mean they have to be like president of the world, but they have a plan for themselves. And once they have a plan and they reach it, that's when they will focus on getting a relationship. The fact that this man literally looked at you, because you got to start believing. That's one thing I will say about men, unless they're a complete narcissist. I don't know if he's a narcissist. Narcissists will tell themselves too, when somebody tells you the way they are, believe them. If somebody says, you still want to marry me? I'm sick. And this is after he got the money. I'm sick. I'm broke. You still want to marry me? No, you don't want any parts of this. You don't want to come visit me. You don't want to do this. You don't. And she's like, no, of course I do. I love you. Listen to the man. He is telling you to run. He is telling you he's not feeling you. He's telling you to go away, but she ain't want to listen.
And he was like, I know this isn't the proposal you dreamed of. And I promise you, I'm going to propose to you one day with a real ring and we're going to share this with the world. But
if he is not ready to get a ring, because here's the thing, I know people will be like, the ring, so what? The ring does mean something because it shows where his mind's at. Nobody, first of all, can you tell me how they went from looking at lab diamonds? So if a real diamond ring is 50,000, the lab diamond is going to be 5,000. But they have lab diamonds, I would assume, for 1,000. How are you looking? You went from looking at lab diamonds, from real diamonds to lab diamonds, and now you're telling me you can't even get me the fake diamond? You're telling me that you don't have any savings. You're telling me there is nobody close enough to you that will loan you the money. You're telling me that you're completely living off me and you can't even forget about the lab diamond. For him to be like, oh, sorry, I don't have the ring. You're telling me that you don't even have money for a silver ring? Oh, just you don't have 400 to get an Aura ring? Just get an Aura ring. The new Aura ring, and put that bad boy on the finger. The fact that he made no effort. I always say this. You know, they're like, oh, women want that. No, they don't. 98% of women, if the effort, they are so happy about it. They're so happy about it. They brag about it. They post about it. They're so happy. It's like a guy being like, I'm broke, so I can't do a date. No, you could have gone to Trader Joe's, got just some ginger snaps, you know, and like, some pomegranate, whatever it says him right now. You could have gotten a blanket. You could have took Central Park, and you could have literally talked to me. You could have read stuff to me. You recited poetry. You made off a ChatGPT. When man cares about you, it's not just the money. Now, granted, somebody cares about you and they got money. Yes, it's bigger and better. Who doesn't like to be spoiled? But it's not just the money. It's the effort he's putting in. And the fact that she thinks because he doesn't have any money, that excuses him for doing zero effort. It doesn't excuse him for anything. If you broke, you should be more creative. You at least should be like, I don't know, putting sun-kissed soda bottles in the microwave and melting that shit down and making an aluminum ring. What the hell? You are broke. It's time to create it. But the fact that he won't even get creative, the fact her know, yo, you're not worth it. I don't want to do this time. He's letting her know what he thinks about her, but she's not listening because she's like, okay, you don't have the money. Where's the
to ask you, will you marry me? And I said, absolutely, I'll marry you. And so we went to the courthouse. I remember I was wearing a dress for Fashion Nova because I was just excited to marry my person. We got married, and I mean, I truly thought this was one of the best days of my life. So happy. I was grinning so bad. I still have the pictures and the videos from this day, and we went to church, and we just had a great weekend in a little cabin in the woods, and it's just this cute lake town, so it's perfect. And we brought Smokey. I remember we got burgers. I made a lasagna. We just stayed in and hiked, and it was a really, really wonderful honeymoon. After the wedding, he stayed in Dallas for about a week, and then he goes back to Denmark. And he had said that the house had closed and that he was just waiting for the funds. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay in Denmark. Again, I have no idea how this stuff works. And so while he's in Denmark, he says the funds came through.
I don't understand how you are acting like a trap wife from 1950 where you don't even know how bank accounts work, but you're the one financing everything. Like, why were you? Whatever.
He transferred the money to his friend for the investment in the plumbing business. And he said that he was about to set up the transfer for me for the money he owed me, which was about $10,000 at that point. And so a couple weeks go by. I still haven't received the money. I'm not super pressed about it because I still am like fully trusting him at this point.
Okay.
And he ends up booking his flight to come back to visit in March. And this trip was a trip that my dad and my mom were coming back to Dallas to come visit. And he already planned to ask my dad for my hand in marriage. And so he's about to come visit, and he calls me maybe like a couple of days before he's about to come to Dallas. And he said, I received the worst possible news today, and I will continue on in part 9.
Hold on, let's get to part 9. 1 second. I'm so invested. I mean, what do y'all think? Do y'all think she was willfully blind? Here's the thing. I don't trip about money. When I give somebody money, like, I don't trip about it. I wait until you come to me and tell me, like, whatever. But I will say that when I give money, I expect it to be gone. I never expect to get the money back. Not because I think the people I gave it are bad for it. It's just the fact that, like, I mean, again, and I learned early on, you give as much money as you can afford to give. You know what I'm saying? So that way the person doesn't have pressure. So you're not tripping about getting it back, but I get that. But why was it not a red flag that he was not hurrying to get it back? If I borrow money from someone, especially a good friend, I mean, those are only people that loan me money, especially my man, right? And it's a huge amount, not like, oh, can I get a huge amount? You usually, as soon as you get that money, rush to give it back. Hey, it's closing. What's your bank details? I'm going to send it back. Hey, the money just hit. It should be up to her to be like, yo, it's cool. Like, we'll do it later. We'll do it later. The fact that he wasn't pressed to give her money back.
Okay. So he calls me and he tells me that he's had the worst news that he possibly could have. The IRS has told him that he owes $318,000 in taxes. In addition to that, his dad owes $12 million in taxes. And at this point, I did not have a lot of information about his family money because I've always been the type of person, like, if your parents have money, that means your parents have money. That does not mean you have money. So I didn't even ask details about his parents' finances. But obviously, I'm like, if his parents owe $12 million in taxes, they got money. And he said that the person that was doing his taxes for years and years and also doing his dad's taxes was one of his childhood friends that owns an accounting firm. And he's like, we've been paying a lot of money in taxes over the years. So someone must be committing some sort of fraud at this point. And so I'm obviously freaking out. This is a lot of money that he owes. So he said, you know what? I'm going to use the rest of the proceeds from selling my home. And in addition to that, he told me at this point, he owns 3 different watches. He owns 2 Rolexes and a Patek watch, which, if you're not a watch person, these are very expensive watches. And so a couple hours go by, he's like, I sold my Patek watch. And like, he said he sold it at a loss. He just needed to get the money. He said he's short about $30K. And so he tells me that he's going to reach out to his parents, and his parents are like, we don't care. Like, this is not our problem. This is your problem. Figure it out. And he starts to just, like, continue.
But don't his parents owe $12 million? Like, But this is another thing. I know she loves him, but she's known him for 4 months. Do you think it's a red flag that he's one, his parents don't mess with him, and two, he said he don't mess with his sister, and it's kind of like you owe 12 million and your parents are not. The parents owe 12 million. It's kind of like, what type of family structure are you marrying into? And when she says like, "Oh, I'm in love with them," she comes from a Nigerian family. She knows that he is going to be like squad deep with his family. Like, what? Anyway.
Spiraling. And so he tells me he's going to reach out to two of his childhood friends, one of which he was with this friend whenever we met in Croatia. So I knew they've been friends for a while. And then another childhood friend. And he told me, I've helped out these friends.
How are you engaged to Mary and you don't know any of his childhood friends? I don't even think she's met his family at this point. So
so much in the past, like, and it's almost like he was communicating to me that he was owed this money from them. I've never asked friends for money before, so this is like not anything that I'm comfortable with, but I was like, hey, if you feel comfortable doing this, go for it. I had not offered him a cent. So he comes back, says he's going to get 10,000 from one friend and then 5,000 from another friend. And I was like, that's so nice of them. He's like, I've honestly helped them so much in the past that like, I'm grateful that they're helping me when I'm in need. And so at this point, he's short $15,000. And so he just comes right out and asks me, like, can I borrow it? And I did not say yes right away. I said, listen, I have to pay my taxes too, because I was working at an accounting firm. Obviously, that's W-2 income, but I was also doing real estate. And I did very well the year before. So I owed.
I'm very confused how she was working in an accounting firm. So you know the whole scam, money laundering hustle. And you worked at it, and she had a real estate. How did you think this was happening? You have a real estate business. How did you think this was happening?
Be penny in taxes. And it's March of 2023. So my taxes are coming up pretty soon. And so I told him, I'm like, I'm not comfortable giving you this money because, you know, like I have to pay taxes too. And now my savings is like really starting to like, I'm starting to feel like the financial impact and it's starting to stress me out. And he said, you know, I hired a law firm. They've already looked into my tax records. They've already found indicators of fraud. I think I'm going to be able to get this turned around really quickly. And my biggest worry and concern is that if I don't pay this tax bill, it's going to affect my chances of getting a green card. And that's when I start to panic. And now I realize that I was just in a very toxic cycle of emotional manipulation. But after some time, he talks me into loaning him the $15,000. And I remember I only could send him like $3,000 at a time. And so I remember it was like over like the course of 5 days. And like every day he'd be like, hey, don't forget to send the payment. And everything about this felt.
Again, I feel like slapping him because honestly, love scams they're common. They're really common. A lot of people actually have been scammed. So I get the way her heart and the way he was holding the marriage. I think she probably just wanted some mixed babies. She wanted her kids to look like him. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe they had this connection. But the fact that in every time when it was time for you to get your money, he didn't say anything. But when it was time for his money, he was on you. Can you send it? Can you send it? Can you send it? Hey, don't forget to send. Ugh. Gives me that ick.
So wrong in my soul, but I did it anyways. And this was not something that I kept quiet about. Like I told my parents, I told my siblings, like my ex got this crazy tax bill and, you know, they were all aware that we were going through this like financial hiccup and I didn't like want to be presented as these people with money. So I was very upfront and honest about it. And like, you can ask a lot of my friends, like I told a lot of my close people about this situation. And quick side note, I did not tell them that I was loaning him money. I just told them that he owed a lot of money and I told them about the overall situation. But at this point, no one knows that I have given him any money. So I ended up giving him the money. He's so grateful. He's like, thank you so much for helping me out.
So you knew you were crazy to give him the money because if not, you would have told your friends, you would have told your family, but you knew they was going to snatch you up and throw holy word on you and be like, I rebuke it.
And so about like 5 days later, he flies to Dallas to come and visit. And my parents came to visit maybe a couple of days after he came. And at this point, he's staying in the living room not in the bed with me, but he could not go to a hotel because we're like trying to be mindful with spending. So my parents definitely started to bond with my ex a lot more over this trip. Like I remember my dad brought him this Nigerian Igbo cane that my ex had been admiring, that my dad had one. He surprised him, brought him one from Nigeria. And he actually took my dad out and asked him for my hand in marriage, even though we were already married. And my dad said yes. And my dad also broke kola nut in front of the family and like welcomed my ex into the family. It's just, I mean, it was really special.
So funny thing, she has a sister and a brother. Her sister is married to a man that looks like Martin. It makes me wonder what the family, and this is only for non-white people, specifically Black, but you know, maybe it happens in other races. It makes me think that the parents want mixed babies. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that doesn't make sense that a man has not even given your child a wedding ring and you're welcoming him and you want him to marry.
Obviously, we were dealing with a lot of financial stress, but I want you all to know that like I was happy a majority of the time, regardless of the stress I was going through, which is just insane to understand.
Okay.
But after a week, we ended up going to Cabo for one of my childhood friends' wedding. And I had paid for the portion of the wedding already because I had been planning on going by myself. And then obviously I got into a relationship. So I just had to pay like a little extra to add someone to the reservation. But we decided to go a couple of days early and celebrate like our honeymoon. And so basically our flight comes and he's staying in the living room. My parents are sleeping in the guest bedroom. And I wake up and I get a text from him and he says, "Hey, can you come downstairs real quick?" And I said, "Of course." So I go downstairs. I'm like, "What's up?" He said, one of my friends, the friend that he had received $5,000 from for the tax bill, reached out to me and said he's freaking out because his wife really wants to buy this house and he's short a certain amount of money to purchase this home. And obviously he was like, "I feel so bad because he loaned it to me because he was trying to help me out." And my biggest strength and weakness is empathy. And when I saw him hurting because his friend was not able to do something because of the money he had loaned my ex. And at this point, I felt like the friend had loaned us the money. It wasn't like he loaned my ex the money because we were married. And so I do something so stupid and idiotic. I end up loaning him an additional $3,000, not even a week after I had already given him $15,000. So I actually ended up giving him $18,000 in the month of March of 2023. Yes, I'm sick to my stomach.
You gave this man $18,000.
Like you send him the money.
You can even get you a ring.
End up going to the airport, fly to Cabo. We have an amazing trip. And at this point, I had just hard launched him on my Instagram Valentine's Day prior.
That's what it was.
At this point,
the
I hard launched him after we were already married. And we were in Cabo and I'm like posting more photos of him on my social media. And I'm going through my Instagram story views and I'm looking at the names and I'm seeing all of these Danish names. And I can tell they're Danish names because there's a different Danish alphabet. And so I'm clicking some of the profiles and a lot of them you can see like my ex is like the mutual, like follows them. And so I brought it up to him like, "Hey, all these Danish people are watching my story, but I thought it was weird that no one was like following me." I'm like, "These are your friends." Like, and I wanted him to maintain the same friendships in Denmark, even though he was moving to the States, because I never want to be the type of person that takes a man away from like his friends and family. And so I remember I'm clicking profiles and I click a girl's profile and I look at the first picture and I see my ex's dog. And that's something that I actually haven't mentioned. My ex did have a dog, and every time he came to visit, he had a friend that was watching the dog. And whenever he sold his place and decided that he was going to spend more time in Dallas, his dog ended up getting adopted by some people because he's like, "I just am not home enough." And at first I told him like, "Bring the dog to Dallas." Like I wanted the dog to come. He's like, "No, it's fine. Like, that does not make sense to do." And I supported his decision. And he told me that the ex could not take the dog because she was in med school and was constantly out of the home. And she just did not have the capacity to take care of the dog. But I see his dog and it's like a duck-toller retriever. I think duck-tolling retriever. I think that's how you say it.
Okay.
I saw his dog as a puppy on this girl's profile and I clicked the tag and my ex is tagged. And so I look at him, I go, "Is this your ex-girlfriend?" He was like, "Oh yeah, it is." I was like, "Oh, so she's watching my stories." He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, that's a little weird." And I remember checking like throughout the course of like every day for like a week, and like all these Danish people are still watching my story every day. And I'm like, don't you think this is weird that there's like 15 Danish people watching my story every day? And he was like, honestly, I just feel like they're a little bit salty that I like moved on. I'm moving to America. Like, I think they might be a little salty. And he said, you should just block them all. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is like a very toxic group of people. And so I was like, is that what you want me to do? He said, yeah, just block them all. Like, they're not here for the right reasons. They're just looking to like creep, and they're probably just talking a bunch of shit. So I said, okay. And I decided to block them all. And so basically we come back from Cabo, he stays for about a month, and then he goes back to Denmark. And at this point, he had come to visit me so many times. And so I decided, you know, now's my time to go spend time with him in Europe. And with his dad's health and his work, it made sense for me.
How were girls and all these Danish people looking and creeping? And she was like, is that what you want me to do? You want me to block him? And he's like, yeah, block him. And this is a man she's given. Wow.
It just, you know.
This is what happens, honestly, when you are desperate for a man. It's like, I don't even think he could believe what a lick he had.
Out of my way to try to spend time with him, and I could work remote at the time. And so I board a flight and I head to Denmark for the first time. And I land in Denmark, and I will continue on in part 10.
Hold on. Babe. 1 second. Okay, listen. You're going to kill me. I got to go. I gotta go. We'll try to convene this today or tomorrow, but this girl has lost her mind. This girl has lost her mind. But also, I really gotta go, you know. But I have to get to my man, who is in fact not scamming me. So let me get out of here. But like, all jokes aside, I feel sorry for her. And the funny thing is, this is all I'm going to say. I feel sorry for her because she doesn't even realize by putting this up here, she is not healed. She does not even realize you're calling her my ex-fiance, my ex-love, not the scammer, not the piece of S, not anything. You are literally sending a bat signal out for every other scammer to come after you. I get it that you want to have a Pollyanna thing. Yeah, life's so beautiful, girl. No, you only give that love to someone that has earned it, not this. Listen, did she even at least get air miles, American Express, something? Something tells me she did not. Something tells me she did not. Listen, again, stressed you out about money, kept doing more. He cared more. First of all, we know it was a scam, but he cared more. He cared more about paying his friend back while you are taking money from a single woman that is giving. The fact she couldn't even see that. He cares more about paying it. First of all, it's a scam. It's a lie. But even if it's true, you care more about your friend and his situation while you are draining this girl's account. I will say something, though. I see why she's cursing everybody out. Because remember how she said, oh, like nobody knew, because she wanted to maintain this image. But I'll say it once and I'll say it again. If I bring someone into the circle and I'm having my people invest in them, I at least try to vet it, you know? And I would even be like, yo, just like do what you want, but like it seems cool, but I don't know. And if I was like, yo, come on, let's get in on this is a great deal, I will vet the hell out of it. And the fact that she knew that this fool wasn't paying her back and was running up money and always had an excuse. We haven't even been like literally a month and he's already given her 8 different excuses. And you literally let your family and friends invest. You let your anyway, let me get out of here. I'll talk to y'all later. I'll try to go back on later. But in the meantime, y'all stay safe out there. And if anybody asks you for money, send them my way. I'll tell them no. Send them my way. I will tell them no on your behalf. Anyway, y'all, I'm going to post a few other